The scent of roasted garlic and rosemary clung to the air, a familiar perfume of domestic bliss that I, Mark, had come to associate with our annual dinner party. Our home, a minimalist masterpiece I had designed myself, was humming with the low thrum of conversation and the clinking of wine glasses. Amelia, my wife of 10 years, was the conductor of this symphony. She moved through the open-plan living space with an effortless grace, her laughter a bright, clear note that seemed to tie everything together. She was radiant in a sapphire blue dress that matched her eyes, the very eyes I had fallen in love with across a crowded university library. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration of my firm landing the prestigious downtown museum contract, a project that was the culmination of my entire career. But more than that, it was a celebration of us, our life, the perfect life I had so meticulously designed, brick by brick, just like the houses I built for a living. Our closest friends were here. Among them was David, my business partner and best friend since we were barely teenagers fumbling with architectural models in my parents' garage. His wife Sarah was chatting animatedly with Amelia by the court's countertop island. David clapped me on the back, his grin wide. "You did it, man. The museum. I knew you would." "We did it," I corrected, raising my glass of bourbon. "Couldn't have without you." He smiled, but his eyes darted towards Amelia for a fraction of a second too long. It was a flicker, a momentary lapse in his usual steady gaze. I dismissed it. I was probably just projecting my own anxieties about the project. I was an architect. I noticed details others missed. A misaligned tile, a shadow that fell incorrectly. Sometimes I saw patterns where there were none. Dinner was a resounding success. Amelia had outdone herself. The conversation flowed, wine was poured generously, and the atmosphere was electric with shared history and genuine affection. Or so I thought. As the evening wore on, my architect's eye began picking up on those misaligned tiles again. Little things. When Amelia told the story of how we'd comically flooded our first apartment, she glanced at David for confirmation on a detail, not me. He nodded, a small, intimate smile playing on his lips. It was our story, but they shared a look like it was theirs. Later, as I was showing off the new built-in espresso machine, I saw them by the sliding glass doors that led to the patio. Amelia had her hand on David's forearm. It wasn't an unusual gesture among friends, but the way her thumb gently stroked the fabric of his sleeve felt proprietary. David leaned in, whispering something in her ear that made her throw her head back and laugh, a deeper, more unrestrained laugh than I usually heard. I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. It was an ugly, unfamiliar feeling. Jealousy? No, that was ridiculous. This was David. This was Amelia. "Everything okay, honey?"
Amelia asked, gliding back to my side a few minutes later, her hand finding the small of my back. Her touch felt different, like a performance. "You look a million miles away." "Just tired," I lied, forcing a smile. "Big week." "Well, come on, Mr. Architect," she chirped, her public persona firmly back in place. "You haven't shown everyone the new security system yet. Mark is so proud of it. He can control the whole house from his phone," she announced to the room. I had indeed recently installed a state-of-the-art smart home and security system. It was my latest obsession, integrating everything from the lights and thermostat to a network of discrete, high-definition cameras. "It's nothing, really," I demurred, but our friend Ben was already intrigued. "No way, show us. Can you see who's at the front door right now?" Fueled by bourbon and a desperate need to distract myself from the gnawing unease, I agreed. "Sure." I pulled out my phone and mirrored the screen to the large 8K television mounted on the living room wall. The app's dashboard appeared, a clean interface showing control over every aspect of our home. I tapped on the front door cam icon, and a crystal-clear image of our empty porch filled the screen. Everyone was suitably impressed. "That's incredible," Sarah said. "David, we should get one of these." David, who had been strangely quiet, just nodded, his eyes fixed on the screen. His knuckles were white where he gripped his wine glass. Then Ben, ever the tech enthusiast, asked the fateful question. "Does it have a playback feature? Like, can you scroll back through the day?" "Of course," I said, my pride overriding my intuition. "It has cloud storage. You can access footage from anywhere, anytime." To demonstrate, I navigated to the recordings log. A timeline appeared on the screen, dotted with markers for motion-activated events. Mail carrier detected 11:15 a.m., package delivered 1:30 p.m., Amelia arrived home 2:05 p.m. "See, and logs everything," I explained, narrating the mundane events of our day to our friends. My finger hovered over the timeline, intending to click on the mail carrier's arrival. But in that moment, Amelia chose to place her hand on my arm. Her touch, so sudden, so cold, made me flinch. My thumb slipped. Instead of clicking on the 11:15 a.m. marker, I hit the one next to it, a motion event logged at 2:15 p.m., just 10 minutes after Amelia got home. It was from the living room cam. The video began to play on the giant screen. The room fell silent. There, in stunning high definition, was our living room. My living room. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows I had designed to catch the light perfectly. Amelia walked into the frame, her back to the camera. Then a second figure followed. David. My mind struggled to process the scene. Why was David here this afternoon? He was supposed to be in a meeting across town. A meeting for our firm. A meeting he had rescheduled.
On the screen, my best friend reached for my wife. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heart pounding in my ears, a frantic drumbeat of denial. But there was no denying what we all saw next. Amelia turned into his arms, her face alight with a kind of passion I hadn't seen in years. He kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but a deep, desperate kiss filled with a raw hunger that made my stomach churn. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer. Her hands slid under his shirt, tracing the muscles of his back. It felt like an eternity. The 30-second clip played out in what felt like slow motion. The entire party, our friends, my partner's wife, my wife, and me, watched the intimate betrayal unfold on an 8-foot screen. The video ended with them moving out of the camera's view, towards our bedroom. The clip looped, starting again. Amelia and David. The kiss. The silence in the room was no longer just quiet. It was a vacuum, sucking all the air, all the life, out of my meticulously crafted world. I finally looked away from the screen, my gaze finding Amelia. All the color had drained from her face. She looked like a ghost, her perfect hostess smile replaced by a mask of pure horror. Then I looked at David. He wouldn't meet my eyes. He was staring at his wife, Sarah, whose face was a canvas of disbelief and shattering heartbreak. A single, choked sob escaped her lips, and it was the sound that finally broke the spell. Chaos erupted. Ben swore under his breath. Someone dropped a glass, the sound of it shattering on the hardwood floor echoing the implosion of my life. I felt nothing and everything all at once. A white-hot rage warred with a grief so profound it felt like a physical weight on my chest. I couldn't breathe. "Mark," Amelia whispered, her voice trembling. "Mark, get out," I said. My voice was eerily calm, devoid of all emotion. It didn't sound like my own. "Both of you, get out of my house." David finally looked at me, his face pale, his eyes pleading. "Mark, man, let me explain." "Explain," the calm shattered, and a roar I didn't recognize tore from my throat. "Explain what? That you've been sleeping with my wife in my house, the house we built together." I gestured wildly at the screen, where the video was still, sickeningly, playing on a loop. "Explain that." People started scrambling for their coats, murmuring apologies, desperate to escape the wreckage. Sarah, bless her heart, walked straight up to David and slapped him hard across the face, the crack echoing in the now emptying room. She turned to me, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she whispered, before turning and walking out the front door without a backward glance at her husband. Amelia was crying now, her perfect makeup running down her cheeks. "Please, Mark, don't do this here." "Here," I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You brought him here. You made this the place. There is no other place. Now get out."
David, shamefaced, finally moved towards the door. He paused, turning back to me. "I'm sorry," he mumbled, the words tasting like ash in the air. Then he was gone. Amelia lingered, her hands clasped in front of her as if in prayer. Where will I go? That question, so selfish, so oblivious to the gaping wound she had carved into my soul, was the final severance. I looked at the woman I had loved for more than a decade, the woman I had built my entire world around, and I saw a stranger. "I don't care," I said, the words cold and hard as granite. "Just go." She finally left, closing the door softly behind her. And then I was alone, utterly alone in the beautiful, empty shell of my perfect life. The remnants of the party were everywhere, half-empty glasses, abandoned plates of food, the lingering scent of her perfume. On the television, the security footage finally timed out, the screen going black. But the image was burned onto the back of my eyelids. The kiss. The betrayal. The sun began to rise, casting long gray shadows across the floor. I hadn't moved from my spot. I sat there all night, amidst the ruins of my marriage. And for the first time, I didn't see the clean lines or the perfect angles of the house I had designed. I only saw the cracks in the foundation. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that some things, once broken, can never be rebuilt.